Welcome to tonight's, thank you. Welcome to tonight's $1 Million Baby webinar. My name is Marlena Smith, and I am honored to be hosting this call tonight. I am a mother of three children, and this $1 Million Baby plan really is something that gave me peace of mind, and I am so grateful was shared to me at the time that it was shared. We also refer to this plan sometimes as a $1 Million legacy plan, right? Because in actuality, it's not only for babies and children, but we are so passionate about sharing this financial tool with parents, with grandparents, and guardians because we understand the power of time, right? Did you guys know that time matters more than money? You guys know that? No? So perfect. So we're going to show you throughout this call today, right? Today we're going to share with you a concept that is nicknamed the $1 Million Baby Plan. And it really is just a simple idea of starting early and using the right financial tools, right? So I'm excited for tonight's call. I hope you are all excited as well. If you are able, please turn on your cameras. We would love to be able to see your beautiful faces and interact with you guys virtually for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Next, also, if you don't have it out already, please take the next few seconds to get out a pen and paper so you can take notes. But also, as you are listening to tonight's call, if somebody comes to mind, if somebody pops into your mind, that you believe can benefit from this information, jot their name down and let us know, right? We want to share this information with as many people as possible. So again, I want to welcome everybody to the call tonight. Welcome Suni, Miss Lawanda, Mr. Hans, and I want to do a very special welcome to one of my favorite business partners. She has been by my side from the beginning in this industry. She is a boss mom with 7 years of experience in financial services, and she always gives the best advice too. So it is my pleasure to introduce you all tonight to Miss Monica Castaneda.
Thank you, Marlena. I'm so blessed and honored to be here with all of you this evening. So the $1 Million Baby Plan is actually one of my favorite presentations. It really hits close to home as a mother and a grandma, and it's become my mission to share the financial literacy, with other parents and grandparents, families and friends, and the actual power of this plan. I personally have this plan set up for my youngest grandson, David. He just turned 1 at the end of March. And my goal is to build and secure his financial future for years to come. But before we dive into the details of the $1 Million Baby Plan, I want to take a moment to talk about the current financial reality that so many families in our country are facing today, and really understand why this plan is so powerful. It's important to first look at where we are and the challenges many Americans are experiencing right now. So here at OIC, our mission is to empower people through financial education and entrepreneurial mentorship. Currently, 60 to 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That means even people with good jobs and steady income are struggling just to keep up, because things are just getting expensive just every day. And here's another eye opener. 47% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency, without borrowing from someone or even putting it on a credit card. Think about that. Just one flat tire, a medical bill, an appliance breaking down, your stove or refrigerator, water heater, that could lead to real financial stress, adding to, their debt. The average American household carries over $104,000 in debt. I've worked with individuals along the financial spectrum, and they all feel like their money just goes right back out. And that's a story for many families. Earning more doesn't really mean keeping more. So, but what about our younger generation? Okay, the average college graduate leaves school with about $37,853 in student loan debt. Imagine starting your real first job, excited to build a future, and realizing hundreds of dollars coming out of your paycheck are already spoken for. That kind of financial weight delays home ownership, investing, and even starting families. Now let's talk about retirement and the retirement gap. The average Social Security benefit for retirees this year is just $1,976 per month. That's less than $24,000 a year. Can you imagine working 40 years only to retire on that amount? Because, between rent, groceries, medical bills, it's just hard to see how we can keep up with, inflation. And even those who save, they're really not in great shape. The average 401k or 403b balance at age 60 is about $240,000. So if you follow the 4% withdrawal rule, that provides less than $10,000 per year. So between Social Security and your retirement savings, many retirees are looking at under $35,000 a year before taxes. Another key reason people struggle is job changes. On average, a person changes careers every 4 years, and even more often amongst those age 35 and younger. So every time they switch jobs, many don't transfer or even continue their retirement accounts. Some just cash them out, thinking, oh, that's just a small amount. But that small amount could have doubled or even tripled by retirement. So these patterns, the constant career changes, lack of financial education, and short-term focus, that creates a ripple effect that leads to financial insecurity later in life. That's exactly why I'm so passionate about financial literacy and long-term planning. Statistics like these aren't just numbers. They're real people like you and I, with real families and real futures. That's what's inspired me to share the Million Dollar Baby Plan, a simple, powerful way to start building wealth early. It's the same plan I started for my grandson when he was only 2 months old, because I want to rewrite the story. I don't want him living paycheck to paycheck. I don't want him worried about, how he's going to afford emergencies or even his retirement. It's just time. It's time to break generational curses and start building generational wealth, one family, one decision, and one plan at a time. So now we're going to go ahead and show you a 2-minute video that summarizes what the Million Dollar Baby Plan is all about. And then we're going to take a deeper dive and go over the benefits of how it works and how you actually can start a plan for your child.
A pretty money-savvy guy once said, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." So you're ready to start saving for your kids' future. You already understand the power of compound interest over time, so you know the sooner you start, the better. So where should you be saving that money? Let's talk about perhaps the most powerful and least known savings vehicle for kids on the market, Indexed Universal Life, or IUL. IUL stands out against all other savings vehicles in one main area of strength: flexibility. Other financial vehicles lock you into what you can use your savings on, but an IUL can be a first car, a college education, a down payment on a house, a wedding. IUL cash value can be used however, whenever, and on whatever you choose. Plus, since it's built on a financial chassis of life insurance, your child is instantly covered with hundreds of thousands of dollars of permanent life insurance with living benefits, simply as a side benefit of utilizing IUL as your choice of savings vehicle. Now don't freak out, the fact that it's life insurance is actually a good thing. Life insurance cash value comes with a ton of unique side benefits, like your cash value being protected from market losses, cash value growing tax deferred and being accessible tax-free, protection from lawsuits, and IUL cash value is not considered in asset calculations when applying for student loans for college. So, what could one of these policies look like for your kiddo? Let's say you had a baby today, and to take maximum advantage of the power of compound interest over time, you immediately start socking away $100 per month into an IUL. Right away, your child is now covered with $371,000 of permanent life insurance coverage with living benefits. That's a pretty nice little side benefit. And that financial foundation you establish for them today will continue to grow with them over the years and be available throughout their lifetime for whatever they need or want to use it for. Plus, if they don't access that money, right around retirement, their IUL is conservatively projected to hit $1 million of cash value. And at age 65, they could turn on a tax-free income stream of $75,000 per year that will last them the rest of their lives, no matter how long they live. The point is, they have options. IUL is the most flexible savings vehicle for children on the market, and the best time to plant that seed is today.
I love that video. It never gets old for me. So the Million Dollar Baby Plan uses an indexed universal life, an IUL, insurance policy, which is a financial strategy designed to build generational wealth. It involves purchasing an IUL policy for a child at a young age and funding it over time to accumulate cash value. The goal is to create lifelong financial benefits, including a tax advantage growth, a death benefit, and the ability to borrow against the policy for major life expenses. So the top 3 benefits of the Million Dollar Baby Plan, we have cash value growth. A parent, a grandparent like myself, a legal guardian can open up an IUL policy for a child. The premiums are paid into the policy, which grows in the cash value based on an index interest strategy. For example, the S&P 500 with a cap and a floor. To understand how index works, you need to understand how money grows. Okay, sorry, I have this sun in my face. It keeps bothering me. What is an index interest strategy? If you look at the chart, you're going to see the fixed, variable, and index. Okay, with a fixed strategy, your interest rate is locked in. Okay, you know exactly how your money's going to grow. Maybe 1%, 2%. Every year. And your principal is safe and guaranteed. Your money will never lose value no matter what happens in the market. Common examples of fixed accounts include your savings account or your traditional CD. The trade-off is, well, your money is protected, your growth is limited. Now, the next we have is a variable strategy. This one is a little bit more unpredictable. It offers great potential for growth, but also carries a higher risk of loss. Because when the market goes down, especially when the market goes down. So this is the type of strategy you're going to see in a 401k plan, your 403b, or in individual stocks. So when the market performs well, your account grows. But when the market dips, your balance can drop too. There's no guarantees here. One day your investments are performing great, but the next day, they could take a hit. Now, this is where the index strategy comes in. Think of it as the middle ground, the balance between growth and protection. So an index account mirrors the performance of a market index, okay, like the S&P 500, but your money is not directly invested in the market. That means you get to participate in the upside when the market does well, but you're protected from the downside when it drops. So you're going to typically find this strategy in life insurance products, such as the Million Dollar Baby Plan. Remember, the whole purpose of insurance is to transfer risk, okay? Shift the risk of loss from you to the insurance company, okay? With the index strategy, the insurance company gives you a guaranteed floor of 0%, which means that even in the worst case scenario, like when the market dropped, 30% or 40%, in 2008 or in 2022, your account won't lose a single penny. You may not earn the interest that year, but your money stays protected. So unlike the variable strategy where you can lose part of your investment, the index strategy gives you peace of mind, knowing you have no downside risk and still have room to grow when the market rises. So that's why my family, I'm sure our team members too, we all use the index-based strategies to build long-term wealth, especially plans like the Million Dollar Baby Plan, where protection and steady growth are key. So now we move on to the tax advantages. You're probably asking yourself, why life insurance, right? Because when the cash value is tied into life insurance, there's tax advantages. The cash value within the policy grows tax deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes on the growth as it occurs. Your child can later access the cash value tax-free through policy loans for education, home purchases, or even retirement. Next is the wealth transfer and legacy, okay? This is where we truly have the opportunity to break generational curses and replace them with generational wealth. through an indexed, universal life policy. We're not just talking about protecting a life. We're talking about creating a legacy that can last for generations. Your child can continue funding the policy into adulthood, allowing it to grow into a potential $1 million asset. And here's where it gets powerful. When the insured passes away, the beneficiaries receive a tax-free death benefit. So imagine this. If your child eventually has a policy worth $2 million, that $2 million would go directly to the next generation, completely tax-free. Think about it. What if that happened in your family? Would that have completely changed your financial future? Your story, and think of all the opportunities it would create for generations to come. This is what true legacy building looks like. And it's not just about the money, okay? It's about giving your children and grandchildren the freedom to dream bigger, to live better, and to continue passing that legacy forward. So now I'm going to go ahead and send it over to my wonderful business partner, Marlena, where she's going to talk about the comparisons of an IUL to other plans. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Monica, for sharing that information, for sharing those benefits that these plans have, that cash value growth, right? The tax advantages, the wealth and legacy transfer. So like I said in the beginning, I was introduced to this $1 million baby plan when I first became a mother, right? So I was very overwhelmed, realizing I was responsible, 100% responsible for another human life, right? I had to make every decision and all of that. Thankfully for me, I had family that was in this industry. So when they came to visit, when my son was 1 month old, they shared this plan with me. And they gave me a gift bigger than they probably even imagined, right? They gave me a gift of peace of mind. And knowing that at least when it came to his financial future, I had a solid plan in place, right? So before learning about this $1 million baby plan, probably like many of you, I looked into other things like CDs and high yield savings accounts, 529 plans, right? But none of them seemed to really check all of the boxes for me. So when this was presented to me, I was so excited that this really felt like the right vehicle for me to invest in my children's future, right? So if we take a look at this chart, these features right here on the left, these are some top features that people typically look for when they're choosing a long-term savings or investment strategy, right? So we have growth potential on here, right? The ability for your money to increase significantly over time, either through interest, through market gains, or through compounding. Safety and protection, so protection against market losses, market crashes, um, or just financial uncertainty, right? Tax advantages, like Miss Monica was talking about, the opportunities for your money to grow tax deferred, to have tax-free access, and some accounts where you can reduce your taxable income as well. Liquidity, so can I access these funds if there is an emergency or if I want to use it for a certain opportunity or life event? Guaranteed benefits, right? Features that provide certainty, such as a guaranteed death benefit, which this $1 million baby plan has, income, maybe protecting your principal, and then that flexibility, right? The option to adjust how much you're contributing, or, when you withdraw from the strategy and what you use the funds for. Legacy and wealth transfer, we touched on, right? That ability to leave money to the next generation and to teach our next generations how to continue that. And then protection against inflation. So making sure that you are able to outpace inflation so that purchasing power maintains long term. And then this last one on here is that it does not affect financial aid. Right. So if we take a look at these things here, a high yield savings account, it checks off the box for that growth potential, for safety and protection, for liquidity. So being able to access that money without any age restrictions, and that flexibility on what you can use it for, right? But unfortunately, there's no guaranteed benefits, not really much legacy or wealth transfer. It really is just based on what you contribute into that account. There is some protection against inflation depending on your interest rate, but probably minimal. And then it does show up as income or an asset for you if you're applying for financial aid. Okay. For a 529 plan, which is used specifically for higher education, it checks off a couple more boxes, right? So that growth potential, safety and protection, tax advantages are there. There's also the ability for a legacy transfer in a sense that it can be transferred to another child or even to the next generation, but there are still limits on how the money can be used. It can only be used for education. And then we did check off that it protects against inflation because on average, it does have a higher rate of return than our 3% inflation rate, right? But a lot of things that people don't think about is the financial aid, right? So when your child is applying for financial aid, if they choose to go to college, this 529 plan is going to show as an asset. It's going to show that you have money to pay for college and it will increase the likelihood of you getting denied for that financial assistance, right? The $1 million baby plan, as you can see here, it does check off all the boxes. So that growth potential, the safety and protection, um, against market crashes and financial uncertainty, the tax advantages, like I said, for that tax deferred growth, tax-free access, the liquidity to access your funds, right? You're not limited to only using the funds for education or restricted to when you can access it based on your age. The flexibility again on what you can use it on. You can adjust your contributions. I'm going to show you guys in an illustration how it works. And then that legacy and wealth transfer to really break those generational curses and start building generational wealth, right? To leave that money behind for your children. Protection against inflation. These plans have over the last 20 years averaged between 7 and 15% rate of return. And again, because it is tied into a life insurance plan, it will not affect financial aid. So if your child applies for financial aid when they go to college, because this is tied into life insurance, it will not show up as an income. It will not show up as an asset, right? So if you guys are anything like me, after hearing all that, my question was, how do I set up a $1 million baby plan for my child? Right. So the process is simple. Of course, you want to sit down with a financial professional so we can help guide you through the process. So you'll definitely want to get back to the person that invited you to the call tonight. But the first step is to choose a reputable insurance company, right? We're looking for an insurer that has strong financial ratings, which are A or higher from AM Best. And we want to make sure that they have favorable IUL products for children, right? Not all IULs are the same and not all benefits are the same, especially for juvenile plans. So it's important to uh, have someone guide you to selecting the correct company and product. Next is structuring the plan properly, right? So as Miss Monica already mentioned, number one, the parent or guardian or grandparent will be the owner of the policy. The child is going to be the insured. And then when it comes to choosing coverage and funding strategy that maximizes long-term cash value growth and aligns with your goals, that's when we do what is called a financial needs analysis and sit down with you and understand what your financial picture looks like. What are your goals and needs for you and your child so we can help you determine the proper coverage and funding. And then next, we want to make sure that you understand what you have, right? Um, if you guys, I remember when I worked and I went to HR and they gave me paperwork for the 401k. I just signed the papers. Why? Because my mom told me, make sure you sign up for the 401k, right? But I didn't understand any of the features. I didn't understand, how it worked, how it was taxed, any of that, right? So we make sure that you understand the growth and protection features of this plan. We talked about the market index growth potential and that index strategy, the downside protection, so that 0% floor, so you are never losing a penny. The tax advantages, so understanding you're putting already tax dollars in, but your money is now able to grow tax deferred and you're able to access the money tax free. And then those optional riders. So there are optional riders that can be used either for living benefits. You know, life insurance has really evolved over time. So it is no longer that you have to die in order for your family or your beneficiaries to benefit to receive the money from your policy, right? Now there are things called living benefits. We have lifetime guaranteed lifetime income riders, right? That can give you a pension like income. So many features available, but we want to make sure that you understand what you have first, right? Education first. Once you understand that and you're ready to go, we submit the application and you start funding the policy, right? So but for children, for life insurance policies, actually, should I say, it is based on age and health, right? So for children, they are young and generally they are pretty healthy. So the underwriting, the medical review for children is usually very minimal. A lot of times we can get approvals either instantly within the next day or at most about a few weeks if they need more information from their medical records. And then you can begin funding early to maximize that compounding growth. Again, I will show that in the next few slides when we show the illustration. And then the policy ownership can transfer to the child in adulthood, right? Because we don't want to just set up these plans and not teach our children the value of them, the value of the plan and what they can do, right? We want to teach them along the way. So once they become an adult, they can take over their own plans, but also continue the information into the next generations, right? So as the scripture goes, train up a child in a way he should go even when he is old, he will not depart from it, right? So that is our goal here. That is how we are going to break those generational curses and start really building generational wealth in our own families and in our communities, right? So next, we're going to look at some real illustrations here, right? So you can see how does this really work? What does it all mean? Okay. So if we take a look at this plan here, this is a plan for a juvenile, a 9-year-old male. This is actually the plan of one of my business partners, Miss Kimberly Howard, for her son, King David. She started it again when he was 9 years old. But some things, you know, would you guys agree with me? So when we're planning for the future, there are three main things that we have to think about, right? Number one is what if I die too soon? What is going to happen to my family if I die too soon, right? The next one is what if I live too long, right? The opposite of that. What if I live too long? Oh, the number one fear of retirees right now is outliving their money, right? And then lastly is what if I become ill, right? Who is going to take care of those medical expenses? Will I have to deplete my assets, take out equity on my home? What will I do, right? What is your plan if you become ill? So this plan takes care of all three of those puzzle pieces. And the beautiful thing of this $1 million baby plan is it allows us to start these puzzle pieces, right? Start building the foundation for each of these for our children. So in this plan, they will start, Miss Kimberly Howard and her husband David will start contributing $100 a month, or they have been contributing $100 a month into this plan. If God forbid something happened to King David, if he were to die tomorrow, 186,386 will go to the family, right? So in no way are we starting these plans so that we can financially benefit off the death of our children. But we also do not want to have to put out GoFundMe's and rush back to work if God forbid something like this happen, right? So having this plan in place for a child will help in that situation with this death benefit attached to the plan here, right? But what if he lives a long, healthy, prosperous life, right? This is where that cash value growth comes in. And if we take a look here at age 69, by his parents starting at $100 a month and slowly increasing, by age 69, King David will have $1.956 million in his cash value uh, of this policy, right? So that is why we call this the $1 million baby plan. And if you guys are taking notes, I want you to write down this number, right? We're going to circle back to this number here, 1,950, I'm sorry, 1,956,365, okay? But what if he becomes ill? So this is a part of financial planning and wealth building that a lot of times people overlook, right? What if you become ill? Um, if you, this here is showing at a projected age of 65, if King David were to be diagnosed with a terminal illness, he would now have access to $1.5 million lump sum from this plan as a living benefit that he can use however he would like, right? Whether it be for medical treatments to make sure that the bills are all taken care of for his family, or maybe he wants to do his bucket list, right? Whatever it is that he may need that for. Chronic illness, losing two of your activities of daily living and needing assistance for those two activities, those two out of six activities of daily living, he can get up to $30,000 per month, right? And that is huge because here in California, to go into an assisted living facility could easily be $10,000 a month. I know one of my partners, she was telling me her client had to put her mother in a memory care facility, and that was almost $30,000 a month that they're having to pay for that memory care facility, right? So having this in place can make a huge difference on that family's finances. Critical illness and critical injury, again, he can receive up to $1 million lump sum, and then Alzheimer's disease, 1.5 million lump sum, right? So having these in place can really help you again protect, right? If you do have a 401k or other retirement accounts, it can protect you from depleting those accounts and having to pay for medical expenses. It can protect you from losing your home, right? But we have a colleague also who he's single, he's not married, he has no children, he doesn't own a home, but he has millions of dollars in coverage in a plan like this, right? Like I said, it's not only for babies and children, but he has over um, $1 million in coverage because he knows if he gets sick, if he has a critical illness, right, his family is going to do all they can to take care of him, right? Would you agree if you got sick, your parents, your sister, your brother would give all they could to make sure that they can help take care of you, right? I know my family would. So this is not only protecting your own finances, but also your families, right? So it's beautiful that we are able to put plans like this in place early for our children and lock in that insurability for them and also pay lower into the accounts because they are younger and they have more time on their side for that to compound, right? So let me show you guys how this works, okay? So if we look here, you see a 9-year-old male. We're starting with $100 per month, which comes out to $1,200 per year, right? His parents say for the first 5 years, we're going to do $100 a month, but they are building their business. They are moving up in their careers. So they believe in after 5 years, they can double that and start putting $200 a month, right? 2,400 per year. And then once King David reaches adulthood, right? He's 19 now. They're going to teach him how to start saving for himself, right? So they're going to say, hey, mommy and daddy are putting in 200. We want you to match what we're putting, right? You're working now, you're making money. We want you to make sure you're positioning your money correctly. And he will also be putting $200, so a total of $400 a month. And they're only going to do that until he is age 45. Okay. So by age 45, they stop making payments. They've contributed a total of $147,600 into this account. But if we take a look at the accumulated value here, he has over $412,108 in his accumulated value, right? So that's over double what he contributed. Plus, all of those living benefits and death benefit still apply. If God forbid he passed away, 886,000 would go to his family at age 45, right? But as we see here, zero, they're no longer contributing into this plan, right? They're no longer contributing, but time now, we are now allowing time to compound that money. So as you see, even though they are no longer contributing money into the account, that compounding interest is still growing this account value, this accumulated cash value, right? At age 49 is hit 533,000. By age 60, he's at over $1 million, right? So that is why we call this the $1 million baby plan because of the possibilities of starting early, what the possibility of starting early can do. So you guys remember I said, remember this number, right? 1,956,365, right? So the reason why I want you to remember that number is because now we're going to look at what it looks like for a young adult, right? A young adult, 23-year-old male. This was actually a client that I sat with. He talked to me a lot about Social Security. What is the maximum? So I did my research. I looked at what the maximum security payout benefit is for Social Security. And then I presented him with this illustration, right? And I told him, I looked into Social Security. The maximum that somebody can receive as a benefit is 5,108 per month, right? This was as of 2024 last year. But in order to qualify for that maximum, number one, he has to work 35 years. Number two, he needs to earn the maximum taxable wage amount, which in 2025 was 176,000. Okay. So if we just pause right there, we heard about the current financial realities and the statistics that people are facing. But if we look at this, if somebody was only relying on Social Security and they were making $176,000 a year, the maximum they're going to get is a little over 60,000 per year, right? So that is a drastic change in lifestyle that they're going to have to do in retirement, right? Over $100,000 less in income. So it's a pretty huge adjustment in their lifestyle that they'll have to make, right? And then the last one is he has to wait until age 70 to claim those Social Security benefits, right? So sometimes on our presentations, we talk about Mr. Start Early and Mr. Start Late, right? So we're going to call King David Mr. Start Early. And we saw what happens if we start a plan early for a 9-year-old male, what it can look like for him by age 69. And young adult, 23-year-old here is going to be Mr. Start Late, right? So he's still, when we look at it, apples to apples, it still looks pretty good, right? He's increasing how much he's contributing a little bit faster because he started in his 20s. Look at total contribution here. He contributed for 35 years and contributed $181,200, right? When we looked at King David's, it was a little over 147,000. And by that time, he has almost 500,000, right? For King David, we see almost 500,000 in his accumulated value on that last year of contribution. But if we look at age 69 here, right, this young man will have $1,096,507, right? So based on contributions, he's contributed 181,000. King David, they contributed 147. That's about a $33,000 difference, right? But the difference that we see here by age 69, because King David had so much more time for his money to compound, is let's do the math together, guys. Who has the number of King David's 69-year-old accumulated value? Anybody? Okay, Mr. Samad, what is the number, please?
1,956,365.
$365, right? And then for this young man here, we have 1,096,507. Okay. So although they contributed close to the same amount, because King David had more time for his money to grow and compound, there's a difference of $859,858 by the time he is age 69, right?
Wow.
So this is what we mean with time is more important than money. It's great to start whenever you're able to start, but if you can start early, that's even better, right? Because 859,000, that's a whole nother life, a whole nother career path, right? And if we look at this by age 70, right, this young man is able to now take out what is called a guaranteed lifetime income benefit of $78,948 per year, right? Tax-free pension-like income that he will not outlive. So imagine what King David's is going to look like, almost double this, right? So he can be getting over $100,000 a year from this plan because his parents chose to start putting that $100 here instead of a savings account or under the mattress, right? So very powerful plan. If we look, right, as you see, these plans are permanent plans, cover you all the way till age 120. So locking in this insurability for our children early is huge. But look how much this gentleman will be able to collect in his lifetime guaranteed lifetime income, right? They say money is not the number one stressor, affects your health. So I'm assuming if he's getting this type of money every year, his stress is probably lower. He's going to live a pretty long life, right? So by age 100, at age 92 is already 1.8. So this is probably $2.5 million that he would have collected by age 100 and still have some money left behind to make sure his final expenses and all of that are taken care of, right? Like I said, it covers all the way till age 120. So if he wants to break records and live to age 120, then he would have received in lifetime income over $4 million because he put his 181,000 into an account like this, right? So this is the $1 million baby plan. These are the amazing benefits of the plan. Just a quick recap of it, right? The tax advantage growth, that market protection where the gains are capped, but you do have a floor that prevents you from any losses. Legacy and death benefit that provides financial security for future generations, that flexibility to access your money. And then my favorite, and honestly, one that I feel like we don't talk about enough, is that contributions are going to come back to you one way or another, right? If you pay car insurance, you are a perfect driver, you never get in an accident, then you just paid car insurance because that was the law for the last 40 years. You put that money there and that's that, right? You're not going to see it again. Here, whatever you put into this plan, you'll either be able to access through cash value and use it for graduation, for education, the living benefits, if there is an illness, the income, if you want to turn on that lifetime income benefit rider, or the death benefit, right? Let's say everything is perfect, you have the income, you don't need to take income from it, you don't get sick, then you leave this hefty death benefit to the next generation so they can continue this, right? So again, why should we start early? Starting early allows for lower monthly and total contributions, right? As we saw with Mr. Start Early King David versus the other young man. There are more years for the money to compound and grow. There is greater long-term cash accumulation, future financial flexibility, right? So they can access that money without the age restriction or without having to use it for a specific reason. And then lifelong insurability, which I touched on briefly, because we're able to lock in that insurability for our children early. If something happened to them down the road and they somehow become uninsurable, this plan is already locked in for them and they already have it in place, right? They don't have to worry about qualifying for a life insurance or something like that because the parent or grandparent or guardian already started something for them early. So hopefully throughout this presentation, you have seen that what I said in the beginning is true, right? Time matters more than money. And that's why we are so passionate in sharing this $1 million baby plan. We hope you gained tons of value from tonight's call. And if you are wondering what your next steps are, the number one thing is get back to the person that invited you so they can help you create a plan like this for yourself, for your grandchild, whoever you can think of, right? Set up that appointment. Number one, call them, thank them for inviting you so that you can gain this information, and then set up an appointment to structure a plan for yourself or for your children. And let us help you create $1 million babies. And again, as you were going through, if there were people that came to mind that you jotted down that you can think of that can benefit from this information, refer them back to this call. We do it every week at the same time, same place, or directly to the person that invited you tonight. So again, it is always a pleasure to host this call. I hope you guys all had got some wonderful information from tonight. It's great to see you on, Miss Lawanda. We met you at our financial festival, so we're so happy to see you on here. And welcome to the call. Do you have any feedback or any questions for us while we are on? The mute button gets tricky, huh? Let me see if I ask you if it'll help.
Oh, can you hear me?
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Um, as I said, I have a 4-year-old grandchild, and um, I'm definitely interested and probably will set up something for her. I do not want her to do student loans and have to worry about college and all of that. The world is enough to worry about than to worry about her
That's right.
financial needs. So, um, and you know, I just kind of, I want her to understand money. I want her to understand what it can do for you and the benefits that you can use if you just get educated. So that's my goal for her.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Wonderful.
I will be calling. I think the lady that I can't think of her
Kimberly.
name right now. Huh?
Yes, Kimberly. Yep, you spoke to
Yeah.
Kimberly,
Oh,
correct?
Kimberly. Oh, it was another
Yes,
lady too. Was that you with the kid
maybe
with the?
Gabriella. Oh,
Yes,
my
yes,
daughter was
yes,
there
yes,
with
yes,
me. Yes, but I think it was Gabriella that you
yeah,
spoke to.
yeah, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
perfect. We are so happy to help you on this journey. We're happy that you're here with us today. And again, for
Yeah.
everybody else that is on tonight, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you and your guests and your referrals on the next call. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
You.